Well, the first time I was introduced to You're Smarter Than You Think was at a nursing conference. And to be honest, I thought, oh boy, here comes another book to tell students whether they're audio, visual, tactile learners. And the presentation I went to was a little bit on the stale side, so I took the book and I started flipping through it. And then I thought, oh boy, because Gardner's theories were something that I studied in my doctoral program, but never found anything useful to put them into play as succinctly as this book was written. And I got so excited that within a matter of a month or two, I contacted the author to tell her just how wonderful a tool she had. And I just thought, especially after coming through the program that I came through, I thought this is the best book I've ever read in my life. And if you want to teach students, this is the book to use.
What's your favorite study technique?
I don't really have a set study technique. I just, depending on the class that I take and the material I have to cover, it just varies day to day, I guess. Never really set one down in stone. It's whatever gets you by, I guess.
It's highlighting and reading things over and over and over again. Memorization. I think that's it. I don't know.
Well, I like to put on some good music, maybe something soft, like some Dead or Grateful Dead, and then I like to, usually we have a study guide or something like that to study from, and I just like to fill out the study guide, just write everything down that I need to study, so by me writing it down, it implants it in my head too.
Actually, I don't really have a favorite study technique. I just sort of get stuff done.
My favorite study technique would be cramming the night before.
After the test is over, how long do you remember information you have memorized?
2 seconds, no. Well, how long does the information stick with me? Well, honestly, not very long. It probably stays with me for 10 or 15 minutes after the test, and I just about brush it off. Unfortunately, I wish I'd hold on to it, but it doesn't happen that way.
To be honest, if I cram, I won't remember things after probably 2 days, a week. Seriously, I kid you not. I kid you not.
Good.
That's bad.
Perfect.
Sorry.
No, you did great.
Do you remember stuff after your test? Honestly? I mean, could you take the test over a week later and know what you're talking about?
The last test I took.
The last
my math test?
See?
No.
See, math test? Nope. It's so true. You cannot.
It's more like the next day.
Yeah. But that's not what college is about. It's all about short-term memory, isn't it? It is. All you have to have is a short-term memory. That's all you had to have. Right?
From 1991 to 2000, college students around the country were asked if they knew the best way for them to learn. 90% of these students stated that they had no clue as to how they learn best. Most students memorize material for tests and then promptly forget what has been memorized. Memorizing is different than learning. The information goes to short-term memory inefficiently. In short-term memory, what has been memorized lacks depth of meaning, and it quickly evaporates, leaving the memorizer with nothing. As a result, you will have nothing after the test is over. You will have test anxiety. It will take a great deal of time to do. Learning is a different thing altogether. When you use your brain the way it was designed, the learning happens naturally. Learned information goes directly into long-term memory, and this takes 1/3 less time than memorizing the same material. Once information is in long-term memory, it links and associates with all the other information already there. This association expands the comprehension and makes it usable. Information stays in long-term memory. As a result, you can use the information, You feel confident taking tests. You save 1/3 time as compared to memorizing, and thus it saves you 20 minutes for every hour studied. Students coming to us today are very different than students who came to us even 5 years ago. Today's students absolutely do not know how to learn. They have been memorizing and regurgitating forever, and they're extremely teacher-dependent learners. That's why they blame us for their poor grades. The You're Smarter Than You Think book can change all that. It truly can. This book will give the reader 2 self-evaluations that lets them discover how their brain functions. And then it shows them step by step how to take that information and use it when they're listening to a lecture, when they're reading a textbook, when they're studying for a test, and when they're taking the test. And the end result is that they will learn more effectively. And they'll be less dependent on you for their learning. And this opens up the possibility, and this is really the exciting piece. It opens up the possibility for you to have a classroom that is alive and awake and learning. What are the advantages to using the You're Smarter Than You Think program?
The advantage for me has been, for using the You Are Smarter Than You Think book, that it actually has decreased the time that I spent in my classroom on a specific concept. Because before, the way that I taught was that I would present the material in a certain way, glance around the class to see how many people actually understood, and just look at their faces and their expressions. And if I needed to, I would change, go to a different technique to see if I can pick up a couple of more students. And what happened was that instead of me constantly changing and adjusting how I was teaching, which made me exhausted by the end of class, I had students adjusting how they were receiving the information. And they would gear it toward their learning style, made it much more specific for them. And I didn't have to constantly worry if they were getting it. They knew exactly what they needed to do by reading the You Are Smarter Than You Think book.
We've been searching for ways to help our students to be more successful in our nursing courses. So this past year, we used the You Are Smarter Than You Think learning system for the first time. I found it to be very helpful to many of our students, and we saw a great improvement in our retention rate. So I think it was very helpful to our students, and I think it helped them to become better learners and more students to be more successful.
I think that it has the way to study, the way to take notes. There are tangible things that this book has that other books leave out. And when as a faculty member, I see a student come in and say, I made it. And I wouldn't have made it, I don't think, if I hadn't had this program to use. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm a teacher.
If you have heard presentations on learning styles, as I had, and walked away frustrated because you thought, there's no way I can teach to 10 different learning styles in my class, that you need to put all of that out of your head, read this book, and start over. Because this truly is a program and a project that puts the responsibility for learning on the student.
Over the past 10 years, we have been surveying college and university students who have used the You're Smarter Than You Think program. And the following is what was discovered. 84% of the students found that their grades improved.
I think the Saturday that we had the class, I went home and put it on a shelf. And later that night, when my child went to sleep, I got it out and reread it and went back through the quiz and just kind of looked at what kind of learning style I had. We had a test the next Friday, and using that learning style just that week, I went from a C to a B on the test.
The You're Smarter Than You Think program had a large impact on my grades. As a matter of fact, they brought me 2 grade levels up compared to 2 semesters ago, which is marvelous for me.
A tremendous effect. I went from a C student to an A student because of the book, Smarter Than You Think.
92% of the students found that their study hours decreased.
I think before this book, I was spending every spare minute I had studying and not being with my child probably as much as I should have.
once I grasped the system, like she said, once I understood what was expected of me to make the system work, it cut my study time almost in half and gave me more time with my family.
Because of the book, You Are Smarter Than You Think, my study time has been cut more than half.
It did cut my studying time. Like I said, I was studying to 2 o'clock in the morning every day, trying to get the information. By using You're Smarter Than You Think, you don't have to study as hard and as long.
87% of the students found that